Hello and welcome to our 12 Years of AIM Roundtable celebration. I am your host, Carla Kimmel, and I'm honored to be joined here today by Susan Chapa, Kathy Aguirre, Zach Salesman, Jean Caroli, and Diana Kay. So 12 years ago, out of the trunks of their cars, Jean, Kathy, Diana, and Susan began the creation of AIM. Can you guys talk about how you met and the build up to making the business together?
Well, it's kind of a convoluted story, only because we all knew each other in different ways. I knew Susan from graduate school. Jean at one point was my supervisor at the beginning of my career, and they knew each other professionally.
Yeah,
the three of us.
the three of us were all at
worked
Alamo.
together at Alamo Heights.
Yeah.
And we ran into each other many years after graduate school. I ran into Susan and Jean at a conference and fell into a conversation during an autism training about how hard it was to do autism evaluations as a solo provider, and kind of tossed around the idea of what if we helped each other out and started working together on those evaluations, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
So at that point, you guys had all been in it for quite a while. Mm-hmm. So what made it seem like the right time to create AIM?
All of us were working half-time in some capacity in like a real job. Diana was really contracting on her own at about half-time because she had young kids. Jean and Kathy had gone through rehire, so they could only be employed half-time. And I had a new baby at home, so I was working half-time. But none of us sit still well. And so slowly but surely, every one of us built our own side hustle. And it was the side hustles that we decided to glue together that eventually became AIM. But we really just didn't want to say no to any of the opportunities that came by because they were really interesting or weird, or we would get to work together. And it was more just, can we do this? I don't know. I think we should do this. I think we should try this. Some people are saying we can't. Watch us. and it just exploded.
I know for me too, one of my side hustles was a school district that just made a policy. It was actually East Central ISD with Mary Eitner, strangely thinking back many, many years, where their board had decided that they couldn't hire independent contractors and they had to hire companies. And so that sort of put a damper on what I had been doing as an individual solo provider, and being part of a company suddenly became very, interesting and needed for me to keep moving. So
that was across the city.
Yeah.
Many school districts were doing that because I worked for Livernia at that time as just an independent contractor. And the same thing, they, regretted to tell me because they didn't want to lose me, but that they were going to have it had to be a company starting the next school year. So Susan, in the meantime, is cooking up a little plan, and she shared it on a Sunday afternoon, and those of us that were there said, we'll try it.
Yeah. So as you guys started, when did you kind of realize, what were some of the milestones that made you think like, oh, we really have something special here? This is going to...
When we got out of the trunks of the cars and we actually had a place to go to get test kits every day. There was nobody there.
First office was a big milestone.
Okay.
It was a tiny office, but it was a milestone for us.
Perfect.
Yeah. The first contractor that we had to hire outside of us, and it was Joy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dr. Nicewander. All of a sudden we joked that, maybe Diana had prayed for a contract, and Jean had prayed for a contract, and Kathy had prayed for a contract, and all the prayers got answered because everybody was signing up, was calling us, and eventually we sold our services past the point of being able to do them ourselves. Mm-hmm.
So were those
hiring Joy was a big deal.
Were those some of the challenges you guys faced back then? Just not having enough people? Like, what were some of the challenges you guys had?
Not enough people, not honestly knowing how to run a business.
There was that.
There was some struggles with, how do you use QuickBooks? How do we bill people? How do we pay ourselves? I mean, we really, looking back, I think, what in the world were we doing, and how did we survive the not knowing parts of running a business for so long?
I still remember us paying for the entrepreneur training for Susan. She
Yep.
was chosen. She seemed to have the most business mind. And she came back from the first meeting and she said, y'all, we are doomed. I'm sitting there in this meeting and I have to write down, look up P&L. And she said, when I found out it meant profit and loss, I knew we were in big trouble.
Look up revenue, income, profit.
Expenses.
What really do these words mean?
So that was we really were ignorant about a lot of things like cash flow, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so we were juggling that for a long time, and that was really a tough thing for us to do, you know, because we really didn't think about profit or loss or revenue or anything like that. We said, what is that, you know?
I think we didn't also realize in the beginning that school districts don't pay you in 30 days. Sometimes it's 60, sometimes it's 90. There were some charters we worked with that we might have waited 6 months to get paid. And all of a sudden we were running out of money to pay people, including ourselves. And that was a little bit, that was the first panic of many. Challenge, absolutely.
So how did Zach Salesman enter the picture? When was that? How far into AIM were you when that happened?
Second office.
Second office.
Everything to me goes
Second
in.
office.
History is related
Second
to where
person we were interviewing for the position that Zach eventually took, and I think Zach should tell why he took that position. We still haven't figured that one out.
So I had, let's see. So at the time, Eric was a practicum student here, and he was doing his experience here, and also I think he was going to Bernie also, right? At that time,
Yeah,
was his internship.
That time we had to switch. We didn't think that anybody could be with us for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was finishing his practicum year and he was entering into the internship year, and he had to leave to go to Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
The admin assistant that we hired, who just never came back to work one day, and Eric said, I need a job for the summer, so Eric became the admin assistant, hooked up our first
That's
internet.
That's right.
hooked
And the
up,
printer,
like,
right?
And the printer, all of that stuff was Eric. And when the summer was nearing its end,
That's when I was
also
like-
in the middle of our first big summer project, that's when you and Eric started to talk about who's going to be the admin assistant.
Yeah.
When
And
he
so,
goes back to his real job.
Mm-hmm.
well, and so at the time I was working for Apple, and great company, great benefits, great pay, all amazing things, right? And I just felt like I had an itch for more. Like I just felt like I wanted to take a challenge, right? And entrepreneur type of stuff has always been in my blood. It's my family blood. It's everything about me. And so I remember texting Eric, and I was like, hey, like, you guys are looking for an admin, because he would come home and talk about how like they were looking for an admin, the person didn't show up, and we all laughed and like
And
cried. And I was like, well, how about I do it? And he was like, you're crazy. And I was like, well, yes. But I was like, I loved what AIM was doing at the time. I felt like this entrepreneurial spirit. I felt like it was going somewhere, and I wanted to be a part of that journey. And so we set up a time to go meet. I got interviewed in the North Star Mall, Food Hall area. They bought me Chick-fil-A for lunch.
We sat at a floor top.
Which was probably all we could afford.
Yes. Also, they didn't eat either, so it was just.
We could only afford your
We
meal.
only could afford one meal.
It was four of them. Me eating Chick-fil-A nuggets awkwardly, and like the question was just basically like, why do you want to come do this?
Why would you leave a steady job with benefits, you know, where you have upward mobility?
Yeah.
Well,
We tried to talk him out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that he wanted to leave a steady job and take that kind of risk, like we were taking a risk. You know, that's why I had such a great feeling about him when we interviewed him in North Star Mall. I thought, he's willing to throw away his job with benefits.
Either he's amazing or crazy.
I, for the record, was opposed to it because I was for sure that we were going to ruin his life by asking him to take this job that was beneath him and nothing compared to what you were doing. And I thought, I'm not going to sleep at night knowing that I'm about to ruin this dude's life. But if he wants to do it.
Yeah, she. I remember there was a piece of paper between Diana and I, and she was so concerned that like I was below, like I was above this job. Like what they were going to ask me was very entry level, and I am not an entry level person. And so she said, as she had a paper in front of me, and I said, "Pass me the paper and say make a copy." And she was like, "No, I can't." I understand. I was like, "Just pass the paper and say make a copy." And she passed, make a copy. I said, "No problem, I'll make a copy right now." And I said, "Look how easy that is."
We role played it, which would lead to lots of role playing in the future, I have to say.
Yes.
The first of many role plays.
And so then I remember saying, like, basically, like, don't worry about this. Like, I'm going to start as an admin assistant, and then I will build this role out, get it going, and I'll build another role for myself, and I'll go into that role, and someone will fill in behind me, and we'll continue this path, and eventually I'll find where my role is here. I don't know where it will be and where it will land, but I will not be the admin assistant forever. And that's fine, and we'll figure out what that role is.
Right. So you guys had known each other for a while, the four of you.
Yes.
And then Zach comes in. So what were your first impressions of Zach?
Well, I was impressed one of the first times I walked in the office when he was there. He was working, and I came in from testing, and I heard him saying, "Yes, do you need? You're an LSSP, right? So do you need a whisk?" And I'm going, this man came from Apple. He doesn't know what a whisk. He had learned the lingo that fast.
Yeah.
Just had learned it that fast.
It's kind of ironic. I'm just realizing sitting here, this is our old conference table.
Oh, that's funny.
And so it's kind of ironic what you talking about the past. Like literally my, I think one of these stains is mine. It's this one right here. And I sat right here and worked because my coffee would go right here. And so like, it's funny, Kathy talking about coming into the office and stuff and seeing me like literally like this is where I sat and worked in the very beginning.
That's funny.
So
what about you, Susan? What was your first impression?
I got to know him a little bit earlier than the others got to know him. He came with Eric to a company Christmas party about 6 months before he came to work for us. And Zach and I had a lot of wine that night and decided we would join the wine club together. So we did that under the influence. And then
nothing's changed.
Yeah, that's true. Very few things have changed since then. We just joined a wine club again this week. Another one.
In honor of the 12th anniversary.
Another one. And so every month when it was time to come pick up our bottles, Zach and I, and sometimes Eric, would meet at the wine place, and he would say, "All right, what are we tackling this time? What's the thing? What are you trying to get done? What's the next gig? What's the next job?" And that just wanting to, he understood our weirdness, he loved our weirdness, and then he could help me see things more clearly because he'd had the business experience and he could put words on things that I didn't have the vocabulary for. And we just we're best friends instantly. As a result of that. We just got to do like our favorite things with each other. So
suddenly we had a business person.
Yeah, right.
We had not had that. We had 4 or 5 educators and no business people. And with one man, one hire.
With one man, our business mushroomed.
Yeah.
Just one man. He made all the difference in the world.
Our revenue doubled
the year
that he joined us.
And he was doing it. We were out busy testing. I mean, coming in, writing reports, testing, going out. Because there's still much more than the 5 of us.
Yeah, right. Right.
There were maybe 12, 15 people when you started?
And what was your impression of these people here?
You know, like it just felt cliche to say right now, but it's what I believe. It just felt like family in a sense. Like I found like some people that really cherished me and I felt like I belonged. It felt like kind of home to me. Like I enjoyed coming to the office, and I'd always get really excited when they come from working in the field because like I never got to see them much. And so like anytime someone would come in, I'd be like, "Oh my God, what's going on? Hi, I miss you. Talk to me. What's happening?" But also I think because like we also like, I don't know, it just felt very natural and just very easy. There was never like, I always wanted to be with them. Like in all capacity, like hanging out or texting or calling. Like all of them, their whole families know about me, because even people not in this room's family know about me. Like, I call incessantly and talk on the phone for hours on end about everything, but that's because I miss them. Like, I love the sound of their voice. It makes me happy. It makes me feel like truly like I feel like they've been a part of my life my entire life, and it just felt like I belonged. I would also say that like we do a really good job at, like, despite there being so much, because now the business is much larger than it was many years ago. So there's a lot of like having to actually run a business now, like paying people and invoicing and
Insurance.
like, insurance policies and stuff. But I think we still deal with the day-to-day things that happen. Like, you know, something happens at a school about this one particular evaluation. I know these guys right here, they do a really great job at like corresponding in our general channels, and when people ask questions, like being a part of those day-to-day questions that pop up. But the one thing I think that always is our compass is, how does this affect our culture? Our culture is very important to us as an organization, and so we always have to think of like every decision that we make, whether big or small, will affect our culture in some way. And so what is the risk that comes with whatever decision that happens in front of us?
One of the things that I learned in the entrepreneurial training was that you have to have your mission, your tenets, or your vision, whatever you're going to call it, because you're going to run into periods of time where you're up against something you've never been up against before. And how do you make decisions then? And so we've changed our tenets over the years, you know, but the one thing that we try to define what our culture is, what those behaviors look like. So every time we're up against something, for example, like the pandemic, nobody knew what to do with that. We had to drop back to, who are we? What do we stand for? What do we feel like is important? And, you know, what's going to make us feel like we can hold our head high as we move forward? And so we've gone through a couple of different iterations of what our mission is, but I feel like what we have now is pretty simple, and it's easy to calibrate. Do our behaviors and our directions match what we say our core values are?
I think the new generation, the students in particular, are the future of our company. So I'm probably most proud of the group that's put together a curriculum and a mentoring program and opportunities to do all kinds of unique things that are related to what they're in school to do, but also related to being part of a business, learning our communication systems, learning our technology, learning our, just our ways of working as a business. I think is a true asset to them that they could not get if they were doing their practicums and internships in a school district. So super proud of that piece of what we do to help grow sort of the future.
Running this kind of business, being in this kind of business is not an easy task. It requires a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see in these kids that we're training, is they're willing to work and work and work to be the best, and then they want to come work for us. And to me, that's kind of saying, and I think this is where I belong. And we have very few of them that go away, that decide it's not what they want. Mm-hmm. So
we have to be committed enough to each other to be able to be open to the feedback from our partners. So some things we knew from the beginning would eventually happen. We knew time would pass and we would get older. And so for a long time, we've been talking about what happens when you reach this stage, when you reach this stage, when I reach this stage. Now, I mean, we're making a joke about how Zach is going to sit Diana and I down at some point, and we're going to know what that conversation's about. But
he did it to us.
Susan and I were taking meticulous notes. Don't worry. I was watching his body language.
Yeah. And I will be sure to fill any blanks you might have.
Well, I did actually have that conversation just this weekend with both of them. I said, okay, you two are sitting here now. So eventually it will be you two next. And so let's just talk about that.
Yes. Egos, you check the ego at the door. You absolutely have to. And I think we've all worked at that and made progress with that over the years. And you just have to be willing to hear what others have to say to you. You know, there have been lots of times where I've run into challenges, and it's something that one of these four people has said to me that I thought, I need to change my direction, or my focus, or I need to get my rear end gear in a different way. And because I trust them and I respect them, then that feedback matters. So
there's one thing I want to add to that too, is that there's a Brene Brown quote that's going around that marriage is not 50-50. And that really basically what you have to do is that as you come home every day or in your weeks or life, whatever, you should be talking with your spouse about like how much a load that you're carrying, right? Like, hey, I can only give you 20 today, right? And so your partner's in, I can carry the rest of the 80, right? I really genuinely have felt that resonate with me as us. Now we're not married, although sometimes feels that way. But I think we do a really great job at communicating with one another. Like, hey, I am not able to give today. I cannot even give. I can just give 0, right? And then, but all of us work so well together. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, I got you. Like, I can cover the rest of this for the week or whatever.
Since the pandemic, talk a little bit about the growth of the company, just the amount of employees, the amount of people that we have now. Like, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Just the incredible growth
Sometimes
in the
it's
past
scary,
2 years. Yeah.
the number of people we hire. Because we were 5 when we started.
Mhm.
And we're not, no way in any world could that have happened with just us fighting the battle out there as a very small local company. And so I think that is the big thing that came out of it for me, is not only did we get bigger, but we got better. We got better in serving the people that work with us. We got better in providing their training. We started doing more than just interns. We started doing prac students, and we started doing this, and we started doing that. And we changed our thinking too. And we continue to change our thinking. That's what I said earlier, is we've stepped back, and Zach has helped us restructure in a business way, yes, but it's still at a personal level. And that's what's important.
I think the cool thing about our growth too, tagging what Kathy says, that now we're providing more support for our team. We're doing, it's not just like back in the old days, right? Like, it was just us and a couple other people being the support mechanism, right? And clearly we're busy and we're doing other things. And so that time availability that we had wasn't available. But now that, because we've gotten larger, we're able to add more people with more expertise and more knowledge to support those different types of people. We have an internal support team now. I don't do payroll in the books anymore, and HR and tech support. Like, we have amazing people that are doing that and providing that support. We're able to do these cool videos now, which we never have been able to do. And it's given us a chance to actually be more available, to be more present with our team versus being stuck in the minutia all the time. We can step back and be more present and be a part of our team, actually.
I know for a fact, because I've worked with these people for a long time, none of us wanted to be in an ivory tower.
Oh gosh,
We didn't ever want to be at that level. And we wanted to always be there, but we didn't have to have boots on the ground anymore. And that was hard for me.
It's hard for me too.
I'm the testing queen. I will test that board over there and get some answers out of it. And that was
she'll get written up faster than anybody too.
That was very hard for me, but seeing it happen and seeing the effect it had on the people that were working with us, they weren't working for us, they were working with us. I think that was, that was a huge step and a huge understanding that we had reached a new level and a different level. So.
Jean, how about you? What do you think about all this growth?
I'm absolutely shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. I've been, I've had a minor role in AIM for the last 5 years because my husband was sick and I had to take care of him. So I ended up doing supervision more than anything else. So I wasn't privy to how the business was growing. And of course, when my husband passed away and I came back and started finding out, oh my God, look at all these people. I don't know any of these people. So it was a shock to me.
Sure.
But it was a good shock. I was really happy to see it. And it meant a lot to me that we had grown like this. And the fact is we didn't change our culture at all. We were open to new ideas. We were problem solving. So that, I think, is the big thing about AIM, that culture of collaboration, problem solving, openness.
Right.
That's important.
Jean and Kathy are retiring this year. So what made you guys feel like this was the right time to retire?
Well, just where the company was and my age.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting any younger, and it was at a point where my grandchildren do not live in this state, and I was missing them terribly.
Sure.
I would sit at night and look at the Facebook pages my daughter would send us, and I want to be there. And and so Michael and I just talked, and certainly a switch in lifestyle for us too.
Right.
It just, I don't know, it was time for me to reconnect with my family. I had raised Michelle working in this company.
Mm-hmm.
There was many a night that child did not see me.
Mm-hmm.
I would go into the red bedroom and kiss her gently on the cheek or the forehead, and that was about the connection. And I took her to school every morning.
Mm-hmm.
But there were times when I felt like I was not being a particularly good mother. Now she tells me, no way, no how, you are a wonderful mother. She knows how to get what she wants out of me. But anyway, and then parents getting older. My father had passed away, and my mother is in bad shape. And it was just like, and there's really my brother lives in Austin and my sister has passed. So it was me. And I thought, I think it's time that I just step back, because I was finding myself being impatient with my mother, because it was taking time I needed for something else, and for something for AIM. And so I think I was the first one that said the words to Zach, I think I'm ready to retire. Yeah. We had to work on Jean a little bit.
Well, I'm going to be 76 this summer, so it's probably a time for me to hang it up and try to do other things. I'm thinking of a lot of volunteer things that I'd like to do, and, setting aside time for that. And maybe just being a good neighbor, helping neighbors out, and being good to my family, because my family comes in and it's really hard for them. They come in for the holidays, but it's hard for them to come in from Austin. Sure. Because 35 is such a wreck. But, it might be an opportunity for me to go to them rather than have them come to me. So.
From the very first day in this career, I've worked with Kathy. She was probably one of the first 5 faces I saw that day in spring of 97. August of 97, enter Jean. So for my entire career, there's only been 3.5, 4 years that I didn't work with them. Wow. And so, in a lot of ways also, they were mentors that I needed. They were sisters, moms, aunts that I needed. They've been through all of my major life changes with me. So that's a hard thing to think about. Yeah. I have so much gratitude. So happy that I got to do my career with them. But so happy that what we've done and what we've built gives them the opportunity to retire. We told you the story about we couldn't even pay ourselves sometimes at the beginning.
A lot of times.
Yeah. Jean actually crawled into a dumpster once to get a test kit that had been thrown away by the district because we didn't have any money for test kits.
We were that desperate.
Everybody have that image in your head right there. Jean's little feet sticking up out of the dumpster. But, how kick-ass is it that we've managed to get to the point where we can offer retirement to these two who were tireless workers when they were in the field, just
to piggyback on that. I feel super proud. I mean, I have all the sad feelings, but mostly I'm like, I can't believe we can do this, right? We can offer you guys a retirement that I think is great. I think is so awesome that you can, have your next retirement years and, have the time and financially afford to do the things you wanted to do. And, I'm just super proud of that. I never saw that coming. I didn't know how it was going to happen, honestly. So that we're here is just amazing to me.
So I need to grab my notebook. That's at home, and I've been saying this, but one of my first things I put down is that both, well, pretty much all of them, but mainly Kathy and Jean, talked about how one day they were going to die in the office on a Friday. And then on a Monday, I'd come in bright and early and find one of them dead in a chair, mummified. And you just said that against
Halfway
me
through a
earlier.
report.
Yeah, because they worked up until their death. So I wrote that down because it was one of my goals that eventually, as a company, we could provide something, right? I didn't know what it was. It was admin assistant, like, I don't know what's going to happen. But, 12 years passes really fast.
Yeah, it does.
Blink of an eye. But then there's also a story that I remember probably in my first week also. And it just, again, it stuck at my core level, is that very beginning when, money was hard and stuff, Jean was one of the people, and Kathy was willing to dump money into the company to keep us afloat. And there's a story that Kathy drove Jean around to Jean's bank accounts that she has all over her
Jean's got money squirreled
Yeah.
all over the city.
And
I learned a lot about Jean.
Like a squirrel with acorns.
yeah, luckily, Jean was very nice and gave money to AIM, but Kathy would drive Jean to her bank like a sugar mama. And Jean would
Sign there, Jean.
sign right there.
Sign
Jean.
right there,
And
Jean.
Kathy would say, "Sign there, G."
Try and explain to the bankers why Jean was withdrawing large sums of money.
And again, the
And it
car,
really wasn't for her.
get in the car, drive to the next bank. Jean, which bank are we at?
Yes, I did pull out money from different places. That's true. I had it scattered around everywhere. So
But it's nice in the fact that, and Kathy did the same when we needed cash. Kathy put money into the company. We've all put money in, but these two did a lot. And so it means a lot, though, that now we're giving back to them, because well deserved, and also gave their hearts and souls to this organization. And I'm so happy we can do something, because man, I dreamed that this could happen, but actually to make it come full circle is just incredible.
I wanted to get bigger and better.
Also,
That's my goal.
check.
Check.
I think we're on the cusp of a lot of new
I do
ideas.
too.
I don't know what they are yet, but I feel things brewing even inside me, and just in conversations. I think there's still so much to do in the field of education and in the field of special ed in particular. Things to make it better, ways to be more innovative in how we help students. I got so much inspiration from the tele system that we developed. To me, that's just a jumping off point to lots of new things. And we have the freedom, I think, and the time more now to not just have ideas, because I can't think of how many ideas over 12 years we've had that we couldn't make happen because we didn't have the time or the resources or the people. And now we kind of do. So I'm super excited about what that's going to look like.
In the last year, so many ideas that you guys have talked about have come to fruition, have actually been happening.
Yes.
And so I know that right now we've laid the pillars, we've laid the foundation, we've sprayed the gasoline all over it, and now we've got to light the match. This past year,
But in a good, not just
In a good-
yes, I mean a good bonfire, if you will,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. A flame of inspiration.
Yes, away out to the far west now,
Yeah.
forward. Good fire, not a bad one. But I just feel like we're on again, there's this brewing that we've been building towards and stuff, and now's our chance to really ignite it all. And there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of good energy, there's good flow and vibes, and we are really about to really revolutionize so much of our industry.
And for this reorg, it meant that we had to really, in our minds, identify who our next set of leaders were going to be. And probably to their chagrin, we have pushed them out of their comfort zone the entire school year. And as a result, we've all done way more coaching and counseling and listening and reflecting than I think we've done in the entire time AIM has existed.
Someone.
We started. So anyway, I feel like those people are just this month shedding their old identity and really growing into the person, the leader that they can be. I have no idea what they're going to show us, but I feel really good about backing up, letting go of control, and watching what they're going to do. Has it taken like the equivalent of 4 months of therapy for me to be there? Absolutely. I would do it again. It makes me a better person, you know, to try to do that. And we've all had to help each other this year, because helping somebody else grow, you can't do that unless you deal with all of your stuff and you're open to your own changes. So it has been a transformative year for sure. Yeah, not just people outside of us, but, you know, those of us who have been leading this effort.